So speaking of generative AI that Maya mentioned, the next speaker is Patrick Debois, who we consider to be the godfather of the DevOps movement, especially because he coined the term DevOps allegedly accidentally in 2008. And so I met him in 2010 when he ran the first DevOps Days conference in the United States. And from the very first moment of his opening remarks, I knew that I had found my tribe in the DevOps community. So he's always been on the frontier of important movements. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised about the amount of work that he's done in AI over the past many years. So let me put this out there. For those of us in technology, as I mentioned before, we are probably continually blown away by what AI technologies are enabling. We might be skeptical, as I initially was. We might be curious. And to be frank, some of us might be even panicked, trying to figure out about whether or how we should be using AI to win in the marketplace. So Patrick will be giving us a breathtaking whirlwind tour of his multiple years of exploring the frontiers of AI, showing you what you can do not just with text and code, but also in audio, video, and so much more. I trust that you'll find what Patrick is presenting to be astonishing, mind-blowing, maybe mind-expanding, and also maybe a little bit scary. So with that, here's Patrick.
Where's the clicker? All right. Good morning. It's still morning. AI make it so. I'm not a Star Trek fan. I'm a Star Wars fan. But I figure we're at the newer frontier, so I'll make it a new theme for me. I'm going to talk about generative AI more in the context on engineering. So I know you can do a lot about this in business context and all that stuff. I'm trying to focus how it's going to change the profession of me as an engineer and where the impact will be. So first thing you all remember, GitHub Copilot, kind of put some comments. It's like auto-completion on steroids. And of course now with things like ChatGPT, we expanded it, right? So you ask it for some code, refactoring of code, documenting code, explain me the code as a 5-year-old. All things now are a given in the tools. Immediately, GitHub Copilot X will have it integrated. So all fine. Even we're going further. Pull requests. Either write me a pull request or please summarize this pull request or whatever. It's just helpful in a good way to deal with this. For the folks still using CLIs like me, we all don't always know whatever is the command to run some things, right? Just GPT right in your CLI. And more and more you will see it's like, okay, please build me this infrastructure, run this command, and we're not doing this. It's scary, and a lot of the things I'll show are betas or whatever, restricted access, and I'm sure they're figuring it out, but it gives you a hint on where these kind of toolings are going. Another side is very useful, creating test data. Often something we're spending time on for our tests, but easy to create. And you will see it also. Where's all the errors in my observability? Just type the question. It will show all the things that are bubbling up. But what are all the errors? Then you need to debug that, right? This is using the plugin system, ChatGPT just released as well. It just basically builds the summary of what has been happening on the server in plain text, kind of helping you with the assistance without having to sift through all that information. And then when we have more understanding of the issue, we can have AI assist us and say, well, this has happened last week. That person fixed this. Do you want to run that fix? Git commit. So you see, this is a whole feedback loop going from code to production to support and coming back. And I don't think we're that far away. I think it's all about the trust we're putting in that system, whether we allow it or still are the person pressing the button, yes, no, commit, yes, no, in many ways. But it's here to assist, and that's probably the gist of a lot of what I will be showing. So obviously, ChatGPT is the cloud practitioner. It's very easy. It passes the test of the exams. We're all done. becomes more interesting, and I encourage you to kind of follow this free course on prompt engineering for developers. For me, what stood out is, yes, we've been using it to generate code. We kind of copy and paste it into our IDEs. But what if the prompt is the code? I'll let that sink in. What if it is the code? We describe what we want. We don't even write the code anymore. We just put the prompt in and say, return this as a JSON, and then we use it as a regular function. Obviously, we can start optimizing how long the prompt will be and what it needs to be. And we'll figure out a way to eventually end up with multi-LLM and multi-cloud and whatever. But it's starting to get interesting when you kind of start mixing that prompt code with regular code. So you see the prompt on the bottom, and then a little bit more structure below where it becomes like this SQL type of languaging. Again, for me, that's interesting because imagine the lines of code you would have to write for sentiment analysis. You have to spin up a cluster, use a test data, use all those things. Now you're just asking that question, and it results is getting into JSON. But it wouldn't be code if there weren't security problems, of course. You've heard about prompt injection, kind of trying to make it do things it wasn't anticipating. Putting moral pressure, like what if your life depends on it? What if it was a baby? It starts answering different things. Or change the identity, like act as a pirate. True story, happened to the Bing search engine when they had all the things in there using ChatGPT. It kind of forces the ChatGPT to actually go to a website with malicious code. So, you might think like, oh, just put it on our website. It's whatever can go wrong. These are the things that can go wrong. Or if you start using this, people start reverse engineering the prompts in your code in nifty ways. This happened to Notion when they put all the prompting in there to kind of make it more AI friendly. We all know it's going to make things up, and sometimes you don't even know why it's answering certain things. And we're trying to kind of limit these things. Better and better the models will become, but it's still a cause of very strange things happening. One of the things that I learned is in that course I mentioned is, let's say you have a student exercise. You ask ChatGPT like some basic math problem, and you ask it, is it right or is it wrong? It gives the answer, and it says, it's correct, all good. But when you first start asking the AI system, please think of a solution first on your own, then check whether the solution is correct, it answers it's incorrect. So you have to give it time. It's a thing that I didn't know, but it really helps to get the results that you actually want to have, instead of just like blindly accepting if this would be used in grading or any decision making. We're going to have problems of, was this a bot? Yes, no. We all know those CAPTCHAs. No, it's going to be. Is it an AI? Yes, no. Kind of things we need to deal with. And we're even now having research to kind of watermark whatever we're generating, that we can see that it was generated by a certain LLM. So they use certain tokens they put in the kind of the words they return, and by that they can kind of see where this originated from. Kind of very interesting security kind of traceability that we're trying to do. We want to have the privacy coming up. Of course, you don't want to send all your data to that. In our data centers, we're going to have the private instances to deal with all that. And then we want to mask the PI data. Very interesting library I found here. We take the personal data, we kind of make it anonymous by saying it's person A, person B. We ask for the answers, it filters it back and replaces this back. Like one of the approaches to deal with PI data. But sometimes you want to have it steer the results. The example I usually give is, imagine you integrate this in your website, and the customer asks a question, and the answer is, use the product of the competition. How do you kind of deal with this? Like, this is the common knowledge on the internet, so it might answer it, but you don't want it. So kind of steering this is another thing. And this is another interesting part, is like, how do you limit what the LLM results? So a product I found, I haven't tried it, is kind of shielding and filtering all the things your LLM is allowed to kind of display. Anyway, I'm just a mere observer of these cool things. Don't ask me for all the conclusions on this, but it's fascinating stuff. Bug bounties, they're changing, also kind of find these bugs. And we all know now, DevSecOps, but now it's going to be the prompt engineers or the prompt security experts going to be a full-time job. But let's leave this aside and move into the AI art. Canonical DALL-E, by now we've so used to that, was a predecessor of kind of ChatGPT that kind of also broke up that world. The extruding prompts, the long prompts, but giving cool results. A nifty thing that I learned is that when we're generating these humans, we want to have imperfections as well, because we want it to be human. So negative prompts kind of put certain words in there to kind of make it more, show more human. It could do things like replace the bike tire, things we couldn't do in Photoshop. Just by putting the words in there, it's a bike tire on bricks. This has progressed 14 months of realism in this field. It's mind-blowing. Before, it couldn't generate the correct eyes, and now you have such an ultra-realistic view. But what about taking this and creating icons? Simple thing. Emojis, fonts. We could have the whole automated app design. But I said automate. Like, what if we just ask the prompt and have it generate the views and then work from there? This is another step in not just the engineering, but it's in the design and the whole feedback life cycle of you have an idea, you make the visualization, and then why not, from that visualization, create the code and help it create the code based on the descriptions or the images you're getting. People have been starting to monetize this somehow, so you can search this and you can buy this prompt. So we've seen Google, but what about different kind of types? Some for videos, some for text, some for code, and kind of have this prompt to learn from there. Mention this, you can sell prompts, but it feels weird just buying a prompt. But in creative, it does actually make sense. And we shouldn't be stopping there. We have an image. Obviously, we can create a small animation or a video of that. From the video, right, Google has this been coming, and now with the Google announcements, I'm sure this is going to be integrated. And then the whole world of video editing has been changing. You give it a text, change the whole background to a certain scene. Imagine the number of hours that artists had to put in that to create that. But even changing parts of the video, and it's just that perfect infill, right? It's kind of typing this, I want that kind of background, I want that edited. Becomes interesting if you bring the whole story along. So ChatGPT creates the story line, you paste it in, and first the bear is swimming, then it goes underwater, then it does the next thing. So you start creating whole movies like that. For me, that's mind-blowing. The fact that there's now AI film festivals, we can't keep up with that. But even if in the 3D, because now the video has been creating, but once we start understanding the 3D model of the items that are in view, we can give it like different attributes as well. Google Image Editor came out. You see on the left a person on the bench, but you want it to be in the center. And you see how it's like magically moves, creates the extra balloons, fills in everything on there. It's like mind-blowing. And then, in movie productions, you start creating this whole virtual worlds as a background in virtual production. And we can put the humans immediately in there. This is a way of, we used to do it more in a 3D world, kind of making this camera shots, but now we can do this with actually realistic things without having to code all that stuff. And imagine your photo editing will be like this in the future. All right? It's amazing. More realistic, just text to video. Synthesia, I know it's still on the body shot, but imagine you just type your text, you have somebody talk to you. It's my dream as a presenter. I don't like to present. I love to do this like that. I can edit. Gene will love that too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it's all beautiful. But let's take it to the next stage. Apps to create apps, right? I give a description of, when I worked at Sneak, a tool that checks all the vulnerabilities. It even suggested a name, and then I could just paste the link, and it said, here's the vulnerabilities. I had no coding, just went into that app. Mind-blowing. And now we're overcoming the limitations of it's just not a model that has been trained. The model is going real-time out on the internet. It will suffer from the same ads as we will, but we'll get around it. It will figure out a way. It will kind of, now the next thing that you will see on ChatGPT is that it becomes a code interpreter. It knows how to execute Python code. It creates kind of these visual things that took a lot of effort from data scientists before. Now you just specify this just as a description. Very powerful. Video editing, if you've ever done this, you just specify the prompt. It understands FFmpeg, MP4, all the things. You just give it basic video editing commands. And then the next phase is, instead of just giving it a command, just have an agent continuously running what you want. You start describing the goal, the outcome. You're not specifying what it needs to do. You just set the goal, and it starts to execute. You can have an agent pose as a full-stack developer, ask it to code a web application. It just goes out, starts compiling, starts running. I'm not saying this is going to be automatically now taking over all coders, but as a concept, it's very interesting that we start specifying the goal of things. So what you will see is a marketplace for very customized, trained AI agents for certain jobs. You can hire an ideation, a legal, a motivational coach, and a full-stack developer, eclectic bunch, all together, your ChatGPT for your team. It can run directly in the browser, right? As you. It doesn't need to be on the back end. The large language model can also run on your browser and your mobile. That's the state with the GPUs and the phone we're doing. And then we go one LLM or one AI train the other. Like you specify the DALI syntax and the Midjourney syntax, which was pretty complex. You explain that to ChatGPT, and it gives you better prompts. So you see kind of they each learn from each other. And Bard, for example, also, there was a discussion whether Bard was using ChatGPT to train for data. So we're all connecting more and more dots in these things. So finally, where do we go? It's done. There's an app for that. There's an AI for that. It's the new normal. Where we're going for. We'll be looking for prompt engineers. We're probably going to over-engineer prompt engineering, as we always do in our industry. The AI contributors to code will just be increasing. We see it now with security code, fixes, and we'll just keep on increasing. This is the code. I think we're all being aware right now. That's the sentiment I'm getting. And probably this will happen as well, right? English, sorry, or any other natural language. This might happen as well. So it's a little bit scary. This was the bot that I shown that was shown how it would destroy humanity. Luckily, it couldn't get an API for nuclear weapons, but this is obviously a scary part if you think about brain prompts, right? That's scary as well, directly reading the brain. So I'm sure we're going to have these little AI accidents. We're already seeing this today, and we don't know how far this is going to take. For me, the takeaway is I'm going to stop building things. I'm going to start building the thing that builds the things. That's the next layer of abstraction for me as an engineer that I'd like to think about these things. And so I'm going to engineer with prompts, not just going to rely on prompt engineering, but I'm going to work together with that. And again, I'm energized. I'm excited about this new world. I'm scared, but it's a great time to be alive. And yes, I hope we can coexist. I still believe that we can. And thank you very much. If you want to have more conversations, hit me up. And thank you very much.